So it's just a very good meeting to come to. This is my second year participating, so. And people know FFF maybe if you take flu vaccines or if you're on blood products like IVIG or plasma. That's we're a small $6 billion enterprise in that space. But the founder of the company started 36 years ago. He's a former football player. He describes the history of the company as on 34 1-1. 34 years of profitability, lost one, and broke even one. But he's built a really great niche little business, and I've known him for 25 years. So he said to me, at the end of your career, what would be your wish? What would you want to do? And I said, I think, and this goes back to a discussion I had with Nikki Haley. And I said, Nikki, my car is smarter than healthcare. And she goes, what are you talking about? I said, well, if I go up pathway, my car pulls me back in the lane. I can't hit the car in front of me. It knows everything. And change my tires, rotate them, it's out of balance, whatever. Healthcare tells us nothing. And so that was really kind of the vision that we had is, can we create a smart versus a dumb supply chain? Can we start from the manufacturing when they deliver it to our dock right down to a patient outcome? And how do we optimize the performance of the outcome? And how do we eliminate error and suboptimal behavior? And that kind of led to, this now 2 years. And we picked up partnerships like with Dennis's company. And, sometimes you can't do it all. You have to become a platform. And so building, finding collaborative partners and kind of a business enterprise opportunity to change the world is important. So that's kind of my little story, why I'm sitting here today. And Stan's the hardest working guy I know, right? Boy, he's such a good network and brings people together. So it's a pleasure to be here for that. Dennis?
Can you all hear me okay? Is that working? You can tell I love public speaking engagements because I'm here because Stan made me come here. A bunch of students from Hofstra told me I had to speak. So the picture on the wall is proof that I actually was an executive in the U.S. government at one time. The Department of Homeland Security. That's the only one I had. But thank you for having Burt and I. Every year I come here, I'm most impressed by those that are going to come out. The folks that come from college, university, new startups. It is a pleasure to maybe share a few war stories and certainly hear the motivation and excitement from their voice. Because sometimes when you're grinding away as a founder and CEO of a company that, gosh, we've been in business 15 years now, about something like that, you forget why you do things. This is always a renewal for me. As Burt said, I don't really want to talk about us too much, but it may sound crazy. And up until about 2 years ago, I used to start all these presentations, especially if they're in New York, with a little snippet of a video. Chuck D and Flavor Flav, right? Don't believe the hype. You guys ever, nobody? Public Enemy? Come on now. And for a long time, I came out of the intelligence and national security world, and we could do all these things about understanding flow and behavior from start to finish of a problem. It cost billions of dollars and satellites and such. And for a long time, I didn't know if we could ever make it happen in the private sector. And some of our investors, including me and some others in this room, spent a lot of money wondering whether we could get it to do it. But I'm not starting a video with "Don't believe the hype" anymore. It's happening. Autonomic, what I call autonomic healthcare, and the big S supply chain is happening with our customers today. And when I say big S, I mean raw material, API, through manufacturing, through quality, through logistics, to the clinic, to the patient, including the, careful I say this from my past, but the behavior monitoring and modification needed to make sure that the doc and the patient have all done the right thing before the treatment is given or even the prescription is ordered, right? And it took us a long time, and a lot of big pharma doesn't move super fast, and the customers in the middle, like the McKessons, really don't move very fast, although they're a very good customer. But we finally hooked the end up, and was just blown away by the FFF coming to us and saying, hey, we really can make it all happen physically, and you guys can make it all happen with the data and the sensors and the ability to write the algorithms, right? And that's how we started. So I'd rather just talk about or get asked questions about what our customers are doing, not about what we're doing, as it relates all the way from, traditional manufacturing, raw material, all the way to the patient and effectiveness of the treatment and monitoring behavior. I don't want to sound creepy, but those kind of things to make sure that people's outcomes are better. So, Burt's team, FFF, has brought the piece that we didn't have. We're a bunch of math, data, sensor, platform dorks, right? Think of the data and all that AI stuff. And FFF is soup to nuts, end to end on the physical and relationship side, paying side, and all that stuff that we had a hard time understanding for 12 years. So that's a little bit of story. And my message is really simple. It's actually happening. Yeah, there is a lot of business model problems and payer and rebate and all this other stuff problems, but technically and data wise and math wise, that's not the blocker anymore like it used to be. It's really us. We are the blocker. Our business models and the way we interact in an ecosystem among the different players in healthcare are the blocker. It's a big one. I'm not making light of it. I spent a lot of time on a hill after 9/11. I get it. But with that, turn it back to Burt. And
I'll bring up a topical thing. It's random, but everyone saw the news this morning. Someone got assassinated on the street from a healthcare company, the CEO, unfortunately. The perception is maybe it's someone who's not happy, but didn't get access to a therapy or a drug or something. That's kind of the rumor going around. We'll figure it out. I'm sure the police will do it. But if you think about prior authorization, for a crappy system, I mean, there's a bunch of things that you need to check off. And if you had this, then you're covered. And we have, $20 an hour people sitting in health plans without clinical information, working on some computer algorithm. And we have people in the physician's office or the hospital calling in to get approvals, and they never get it right. And, there's a lot of dissatisfaction. You think about prior auth and AI and all, if you got any meeting in healthcare, let's talk about AI. In fact, half of the companies in healthcare now put AI in their name, right? Sexy. But, the prior authorization in the future is going to be more like what a grievance and appeal process looks like. Where the math is going to be calculated. It's going to be very specific to a tumor type, an index on a patient, an outcome. People will be at risk for performance. There'll be sensors to measure whether or not we're hitting that performance. Alerts, actionable, not not retrospective review. And that's kind of, so how do you, how's technology going to get us there? Because we're really in the dark ages still today, Dennis.
Yeah, so I mean, it's actually happening. I'll give you some use cases that are happening. Right? So some cancer treatments require different panels of tests before you can actually prescribe it. Sometimes they get done, sometimes they don't. It still gets prescribed, therefore it probably won't be effective, right? There has to be sometimes concurrent treatment and testing, right? So you deliver a series of treatments, and then you do tests and you do some more treatments, and just synchronizing all that together between the patient and the provider and the testing lab and the manufacturer, who in some cases have to get that drug to a certain spot, not 4 days from now and not 6 days, because 4 days it's too radioactive and 6 days it's too weak, right? They have to get it right at the right time. That used to be impossible technically, almost, right? It's almost like if you think of targeting. I know that sounds weird, but how you target in a bad situation. And today, it all can be done, right? So a message is being sent to a doctor, says you haven't ordered these 3 tests. Therefore, please don't, still a doctor, so he or she's in charge. Please order these tests before you prescribe this treatment, right? XYZ happens, test comes back, it automatically is alerting, hey, you don't need this treatment, you need this treatment, take a look at it. It's telling the patient their behaviors that they have to stick with inside of to be part of the treatment activity. So if I can leave you with it, if you think about it, there's at the bottom of that, there's this connective tissue, and some people like geeks like me call it sensors, and that technology is just going gangbusters, right? Unfortunately, when you get to the bottom of what happened terrible this morning, and please keep everybody's families and prayers and thoughts, but it wasn't very hard to figure out where he was going to be. It was Investor Day, right? I mean, the concept of us kind of giving up our flow and behavior data as people, it's long. The right or wrong, the horse has left the barn, right? So, and the sensor technology gets better. You go outside and there's 10 great ideas around how to manage patients and make sure they're doing the right thing. So that that raw sensor array is available. The connective tissue, which is kind of where we play sometimes in the platform space, is there, right? And then the math, although a bit overhyped, cue Public Enemy if you're a music fan. The AI math is getting there, and it's all math, right? Call it AI, call it ML, call it. It's going to get there, right? And it's getting better every day, right? So it leaves out working together and changing the business structure. So technically, we're already doing it, and that sounds a little bit sorry. I mean, it sounds like, oh, you're so smart, but we really are, and not me anymore. Smart people like these people sitting in the room that I talked to last night are doing it. It's just a matter of making it happen from a business model perspective.
So I guess when I come to this meeting, I'm doing it 40 years. Company public, sold a couple of big ones. I always figured out, I built a platform. I found a way to get into the ecosystem. And I look at so many of the companies that are here previously and compete for this space. You got to find a way to get into the ecosystem platform. You have to, I think a lot of what I've seen is, you drink your own Kool-Aid, so to speak. You show up and you think everyone's going to think it's as great as you thought it was. They don't get it. Innovation is tough to bring to market. And so you need good collaborators, good partners, and that's your best path forward. But, and we're doing that, right?
Yeah.
Big companies, but we figured out we're better off together than individually going it. Total cost of care, outcomes, if you think about it, everyone's talking about value-based agreements or value-based care, and we do a lot of care that fails. Maybe if you got rid of failure, the care today is cheap because part of that equation is failure. It's the numerator denominator. If 20% of stuff fails, pay full price for it. It's not a good equation. So I think we're kind of at a crossroads. What's your to the startups that are here? How they get on that? How they get on the interoperability highway? And
Start with more hair than I started with, and you maybe will end with.
We all started there.
Gosh, my advice to and you can call me anytime. You can hit me on LinkedIn, and I'll try to share it more coherently than in a speech. It prompts you. But one of my big advices is, you don't do everything. Right? We are not a sensor company. We made that decision, and we've had customers in the past beg us to do hardware and firmware, and because we're kind of good dorks, and we can kind of probably do it, but we decided. This is down kind of the bottom of the technical stack. We decided, hey, look, we can't keep up in that space. Let's focus on data, good data across the whole ecosystem, not just that ERP data, but good supply chain data, and let's focus on math. And that's what we're good at. So one is, you really can't do everything. Some startups get lucky, right? But I used to, crazy and sounding, I used to be a pretty senior guy at Lockheed, and the CEO would always tell me, Dennis, be a good hardware company or be a good enterprise software company, but don't be both when I was running an operating business. It's good advice. The other one is don't be afraid to say what you don't know. I mean, I have conversations with Burt and his boss, who's the CEO, all the time saying, literally, because I talk like this, dude, I don't understand this pair PBM. It's crazy to me. Teach me. And they'll just go over and over and over again. But in trade for that, be loyal to your partners. And this is really hard in tech startups. I mean, it's really hard to be faithful and loyal to people that have helped you along the way. And I know it sounds weird, especially from a guy that's a math numbers guy, but karma will follow you if you're not. Okay. So, find partners that know what you don't know and be honest with them that you don't know it, and then work together and be loyal to them. That would be one thing. I mean, I got a whole bunch of others. That's probably for a 20-minute speech, Stan.
Yep.
That's probably the best I can do.
So thanks for having us.